The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it will employ both manual and electronic methods in the transmission of the 2023 election results. The commission also revealed that there's a possibility of moving sensitive materials from the Central Bank of Nigeria to another location. The chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakub, said this during a consultation meeting with the media in Abuja on Thursday. Responding to a question on the political ambition of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, Yakubu said the commission might be forced to find another arrangement for the handling of sensitive materials. The INEC chairman says that the CBN is responsible for storage and movement of sensitive materials, adding that the commission has never doubted the capacity of the CBN to discharge that responsibility. Sundu, a lot to talk about.
Well, yes, INEC is, I think, in the position of possibly having to pivot from a long-established electoral practice of storing sensitive materials in our vault. I mean, they're looking at alternatives. Well, what might those alternatives be? Senator Shehu Sani tweeted the other day that they should consider, this is INEC, storing sensitive material with murik and pastors. I guess that's his own way of trying to be sensitive to the religious inclinations of Nigerians. You have Muslims who might object if it's only stored with pastors, and you have Christians who might object if it's only stored with murik. But I thought we were a secular state. It's all looking somewhat messy if we have to resort to that, which I doubt that INEC will listen to, because are those premises secure? They could be breached. But I think INEC is in the position, is used to this by now, unfortunately. You'll recall the Anambra elections last November when they had a fire incident in their Awka offices and had to now use offices in Owerri, in Imo State, not even in Anambra State, to store some materials. But those were not sensitive materials. With sensitive materials, you do need a vault, because free, fair, and credible elections do not start on election day. The whole process has to be seen to be above board. And these are the ramifications of individuals' ambitions that perhaps were not fully thought out.
Dr. Batu?
Okay, well, it's an interesting development. We were told that yesterday when the CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, was interviewed by State House correspondents when he went to see the president. And he was reminded that a lot of people are panicking. They are having serious concerns about his alleged interest in the presidential race for 2023. He said, well, if people want to have heart attacks, they can go ahead and have heart attack, and that there will be news. So the CBN, the INEC chair, Mahmood Yakubu professor, now saying that, look, they are looking at the possibility in the event, wasn't so categorical, in the event that the CBN governor goes ahead to become a major participant in the electoral process, then they will look at the possibility of storing electoral materials away from the Central Bank of Nigeria. But that has not happened. It's conditional. It may well happen that we wake up Monday morning and it will turn out that the CBN governor is not part of the race. And maybe that's why he's saying he's having fun and that there will be news. What that news will be, we do not know. What we know is that there is a matter in court which came up yesterday after the judge, the Federal High Court judge, postponed it. And yesterday, Michael Zekome, counsel to the CBN governor, restated his prayers, original prayers on behalf of his client, that the CBN governor is not a political appointee, but a public servant within the purview of Section 8412. And another prayer, he was seeking an interpretation of Section 318 of the Constitution with regard to who a public servant is. Another prayer is Section 66, Section 107, Section 182, whether this or not, should have any effect on his client. That matter has not been determined yet. So all of these, are interconnected. Even the PDP showed up in court yesterday. And one NGO also showed up in court who said they wanted to be joined in the matter. Maybe. That is why, the CBN governor and his counsel are saying, let's wait and see. And Uzekome went a step further to say, if the CBN governor decides to resign from his office, it will be on moral grounds, not because the support of the law, affirms his ineligibility for the office. So all of this is still in the air. And what comes out of that judicial process and what transpires, in terms of the president of Nigeria taking one decision or the other subsequently will define what happens. But I guess, to go back to the original story, that the CBN is trying to reassure the public that it will ensure complete neutrality. And the point is that if the CBN governor eventually emerges as a candidate in the race and he wins in court, and the court affirms Section 66 of the Constitution, which says that you can only resign 30 days to the election, then a moral dilemma will be created. Why would election materials be kept under the auspices, under the watch of an active candidate in the electoral process? And I guess the second thing is that the central bank is also trying to protect itself so that there will be no speculations, whatever comes out of this, and that nobody will challenge both the integrity of INEC and also the CBN itself. So they've just raised that concern. They've not taken any decision yet. But I think that it's important that they are trying very early to protect themselves and to respond to concerns that have been raised by the general Nigerian public.
So I think this will be a defining moment for Nigeria. To a large extent, INEC is right to have said that, because for the electoral process, it must be seen as fair. And you cannot have an active participant in the process that probably might still have the CBN, and sensitive materials will be stored there. This is elections in Nigeria, because what that will do is that one way or the other, it will discredit the elections. But I think also going forward, I think this will bring about a shake-up in the system. And some laws really need to be reviewed going forward. And apart from all of this process, we need to have a definitive stand on political appointees or political office holders, trying to run for positions while they're still in power. And I think 8412, some people would still like to test out to the Supreme Court. We'll get some level of finality on that, because what this does for our country is that it sets our country backward. And this is not the place we should be at a time like this in our national life where our democracy is evolving. These are the things we ought to have put behind us. But at the same time, it's beginning to come up because it wants solution. And solutions it will get. So I think the rallying cry going forward should be we should make some clear definitive stands. The first stance would be about the independence of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Because when you look through the history of the central bank, it's gone through many iterations. At some point, it used to be under the Ministry of Finance and the likes. Now it's truly independent. And the independence of the central bank should predetermine some preconditions. The independence, the impartiality of the central bank. Dr. Muda Yusuf wrote about that today. And I read his very interesting op-ed. And I think going forward, we should reassert that. It has to be said. Because you see, when INEC is saying we're going to seek alternative means, it just shows that there are problems. Where are the alternative means, really, we can think of? So it's because INEC is already in dire straits based on what is going on around, and it wants to be seen as truly fair. That's why it's seeking alternative means. Obviously not its offices that have been burnt all over the country.
For sensitive materials.
For sensitive materials. So are we going to start looking at private vaults?
No.
Is that the case?
Because those people, those individuals could be card-carrying members
of parties. Could be card-carrying members of political parties. So what do we truly do here at this point in time? So I think it shows up a lot of questions and challenges. But one thing is certain. When we go through the screening process on Monday, Tuesday, after all of this is said and done, that we need to sit back and take some strong decisions about the legal implications of some things in this country. Because we don't want this conundrum to ever happen again. It's not good for our democracy.
The appointment and screening of the next CBN governor will be something to watch.
Yes, it's not good for our democracy. The Bayelsa State Chairman of the All Progressive Congress says former President Goodluck Jonathan is officially not yet a member of the party in the space. Speaking exclusively to Arise News, Dennis Otitio said the party will be glad to welcome the ex-president.
However, we have a constitution. And Article 9 of the APC Constitution, as amended in 2022, clearly states that anybody who wants to join the party must apply to register at his ward. And if the ward executive refuses to register the person will now appeal to the local government. Where the local government refuses to register the person will now appeal to the state level. Where the state level refuses his application, the person will escalate it to the zonal level. And then if the zonal ESCO refuses to register the person, they will now escalate it to the National Executive Committee. As at now that I'm speaking, I have not received any information that Goodluck Jonathan wants to register with the party. And then the second condition in Article 9 is that the person must not be a member of another political party.
Meanwhile, the Fulani Group, which on Monday obtained the APC 100 million presidential form and expression of interest forms for Goodluck Jonathan, said on Thursday that it will submit the forms on Friday. That's today. A lot to still talk about. Here we go again, another one.
Yes, I mean, I've been waiting for you, Dr. Abati, to give us an Arise News exclusive, the scoop of the century, and you have not been forthcoming. But it's still up in the air, isn't it? Or it's not? Because I tend to be persuaded by you, because you're really emphatic about it, that a person of the former president's level is hardly going to be lying and prevaricating on this kind of an issue. But the reports continue. The reports continue to the effect that he is joining the APC and will be submitting his form today.
Okay, what Otitio just said, I think should assist us in a sense. He says that for you to be a member of another political party, you have to leave your party and move to the other party. To the best of our knowledge, President Jonathan has not ported from the PDP to the APC. There's been no such formal announcement. And I think that it would be most untidy for a man who occupied all the major political positions in Nigeria, from deputy governor to the presidency of the country, to just walk away like that in a half from the party that gave him the opportunity that no other political party has given anyone else in Nigeria. The second point that the chairman of Bayelsa APC has made is that for you to be a member of any political party, you must register in your ward. And to the best of his knowledge, President Goodluck Jonathan has not saw the registration of the in the ward, in his ward in Ogbia local government. I think it's Ward 7, to become a member of the APC. As chairman of the party, he should know. There has also been a counter report quoting sources. Okay, those anonymous sources, persons close to the president, are they more reliable than the chairman of the party? Is the chairman of a political party not in a position to know if a man of President Jonathan's stature is going to join formally? People say, well, all kinds of things happen in Nigeria and that we live in interesting times where the rules may not be applied. But yesterday, President Jonathan himself, through social media platforms, put out a statement there, including photographs. I told you that he was not even in the country, right? He has been in Senegal for the past 2 days now, monitoring an electoral process. And he's not coming back into the country until, don't let me disclose the date, until the screening process within the APC is over. Okay? So if it's going to even be, as some people are saying, a consensus candidate, or is going to submit a form, okay, will he not go through screening? By the time they are conducting that screening, 14, 15, he would still not have returned to Nigeria. He will still be in Senegal. So is the APC going to dismantle its entire structure just to accommodate somebody who 2-3 days to the screening process has not left the political party that he belongs to? So there are so many improbabilities here. Yes, there is a group, the nomadic pastoralists, and the group called Amajiri Communities, who are saying that whether President Jonathan likes it or not, they will submit the forms on his behalf today. What did the rules say about submission of forms? Will somebody sign on his behalf? Will they put an electronic signature there? Okay. Will he himself now do a vote fast and say, oh, he will leave Senegal and return tomorrow Sunday to come and take part in a screening process, in a process that he had publicly disowned? So the question is, will he allow his head to be shaved in his absence? And would, APC convene a national working committee meeting, a national executive committee meeting within the next 72 hours and say that he has been given a waiver? And would all those candidates in the APC agree to sign that they have ceded, their own aspirations to a candidate from another political party? So there are so many, gray areas. But Nigerians like juicy stories. They say, oh, this source is this, that source is that. Okay, but I think that as a man who has been a former president of Nigeria and who is an international statesman, he's just been given an appointment, an international board appointment, which is a major recognition for him. Will he allow himself to be dragged through all of this? I doubt very much. But I want to go with the people who say, well, things happen in Nigeria. Well, maybe when whatever they are expecting will happen happens, they will turn around and tell people like us, oh, I think we told you. And then, of course, we'll pick the analysis from that point and go forward.
I mean, Tundu, like I said, it's a period of juicy gists. And Dr. Abati, you know the word you famously use, aproko, that's our business. Aproko business.
Not mine.
All right? This is our business. We are journalists.
I'm a lawyer.
I think three things at first we can pick from all of this is that there is no smoke without smoke without fire. At a point, President Goodluck Jonathan was interested. We've been able to establish that fact. Because I'm not sure going to see Abdullahi Adamu was a play date.
In the night.
In the night, no.
Under cover of darkness.
In the cover of dark. I'm not sure that was a play date.
No, but there's another version. It was Abdullahi Adamu, senator himself, who went to President Jonathan's house. Not the other way around.
So I'm not sure that's a play date.
Yeah, but Senator Adamu went to see him.
They went to see for politics. It's not a play date. That's what I'm saying. It's not a play date. They were not there because they wanted to binge watch Blood Sisters on Netflix. That's not why they went. It was because of politics. So there was definitely a conversation going on. We can establish that. Secondly, we have seen one too many times in this country how things change. But I would like to also wait till the screening process is completed. Because in all of this, I'm seeing a certain Fulani group that said they bought a form, and apart from that, they are head on, they want to submit it. And the former president is not saying, I've got nothing to do with it. So would you submit something on behalf of a man that doesn't have anything to do with it? And all of this is going, and he can't call out in very stern language their impunity? My third point on this would definitely be the extension of dates. For me, all of a sudden, too quickly, the APC extended dates forward. Screening has been pushed forward. Let's see how that pans out. Is it because of some other factors? Could it be also because of the former president also being there? Then the last leg of it for me is that, like I said before, the president definitely has an interest. Sources have revealed he wants consensus, and Adamu said they can't give him consensus because, and the reason why he wants consensus, according to some sources, that he doesn't have the spending power of the likes of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he knows that if he goes into the race with them, he can't outspend them, and it will come down to that for delegates. Also, there were copious sources by two national dailies yesterday. The first one was Tribune newspaper, the oldest running newspaper in this country, that said indeed they confirmed that Ward 6 Ogbia local government area, Otueke, actually said President Goodluck Jonathan was an APC member. Let's say that's a southern newspaper Also, another newspaper, Daily Trust newspaper, also broke the story yesterday. Most wires have picked it up. So are we going to say that Tribune probably got the sources wrong? Tribune has been probably in existence since 1949 or thereabouts. And are we going to also say that the same source that informed Tribune didn't inform Daily Trust properly and other people? But like they say, it remains to be seen.
No, there were rebuttals to those reports in Nigerian Tribune and Daily Trust. And the chairman of the party has also said it is not true.
I'm just taking one side of the gist.
And President Jonathan had issued 2 statements disowning the nomadic pastoralists and the Amajiri communities. Let's take the facts, not with speculations.
No, but these are the facts according to these papers. These are their facts.
No. The fact that a newspaper has been there since 1949 means nothing.
But these are their facts.
But what we rely on is the statement from President Jonathan himself and from the party in Bayelsa. Those are the more concrete facts. Okay?
Time will tell.
But we'll see.
We will see.
By next week.
That's all on News Headline. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Ruth Sodiri, Michael Wilson, Aaron Akerjala to give us updates on Africa global business, supporting activities across the globe. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Moving on to business updates, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Mr. Wilson.
Good morning. The roller coaster show actually continues. Some rather weird stuff going on. It's basically because the markets can't really make up their minds as to what the inflation and growth prospects are for the markets globally. For example, SoftBank, we were talking about that yesterday. It recorded a record loss yesterday, but it's jumped about 9% today. Again, it's all very difficult to draw a distinction, to draw a firm line over what's going on. It's just all about volatility. However, it does look, as far as China's concerned, Shanghai is now saying its so-called victory against COVID is getting closer. Now, if that were to happen, and Beijing officials were saying late yesterday they're not going to have Shanghai lockdown measures in Beijing. They're just urging people to stay at home and to work from home. I don't really understand what the difference is, but that's taken by the markets to be quite positive, really. As far as the United States is concerned, again, it's something which we've been wondering about on this program for some time, isn't it? And the chairman of the Fed, Jay Powell, is saying it's going to be very, very difficult to engineer a so-called soft landing of the US economy. Soft landing means avoiding a crash, avoiding recession, but at the same time trying to control inflation by raising interest rates. He said he couldn't promise a soft landing. It's really the target has got to be to get back to 2% inflation, but it does look unlikely as if they're going to do that. The 30 stock Dow yesterday slid about 103 points. Futures slightly higher this morning, but again, it's very, very difficult to say what's actually happening now. I'm going to talk about Apple. It's down now 8%. And the reason that I'm talking about it is because many people have been using it as a sort of tech stock, but one of growth and also safety, and that's clearly no longer the point. They had been seeing it as a safe haven. Now they're not. They're moving out of it. And this is interesting as well. Twitter's market cap has dropped to $9 billion below the amount that Elon Musk had his purchase price. The regulatory concerns are something which is hitting Twitter. I would also add to that the question about how it's actually going to make money in the future, which I think is pretty important. And a couple of Twitter bosses are actually leaving the country as well. It's the biggest shake-up really in the company since Elon Musk first signaled that he was interested in buying it. As far as the United Kingdom is concerned, the Bank of England is being censored by senior conservatives about its attitude towards inflation and the mistakes it appears to have made. Obviously, Conservatives are getting a lot of heat from their constituencies about the rising cost of living, and saying that the Bank of England has consistently underestimated the pause of rising inflation. It's going to be fairly modest. It said it was going to be modest and transitory. Well, it clearly isn't. And we've got an MPC member, Sir Dave Ramsden. He's quite a veteran of the Treasury and also the MPC committee, say that rates will have to be continued to be rose or to be hiked over the next few months, and that's despite the fact, of course, that, as we said yesterday, the economy shrinking 0.1% in March. A recession ahead, possibly. I was listening to somebody on another program this morning saying that it might not be a recession, might just be growth flatlining. And the UK's plans for nuclear power, again, this is something which, again, we'll have to have a lot of discussion about, but it may well add to, Kwasi Kwarteng, the business secretary, saying it might add to energy bills, but long term, it really is the way to go. Oil markets remaining volatile for all the obvious reasons. I've got Brent crude and WTI falling about $4 yesterday. Gold is wilting on the fact that dollar's quite strong. Obviously, you buy gold in dollars, so any kind of strength there. I'm looking at sort of support between 1835 and 1836 an ounce. It's sort of ending its trading day. Of course, things may change today at about 1822 an ounce. And poor old cryptocurrencies have taken a $200 billion loss across all their constituent parts. Again, not really coping very much with the risk-averse attitude that's spreading from equities also to cryptocurrencies. So people are moving out of those, and we're looking at Bitcoin very much below where it was yesterday. That is the global view.
All right, real quickly, Michael. Yes, growth might just be flatlining. That's the argument they are making. But a lot of people are saying the cost of living is not flatlining. And that's an argument that they cannot contend with. I'm saying they, the Tory party, the government, and there's nothing they're doing about it. So they might try to call inflation another name. What's your take on that? Number two will be the case of oil. You talked about a great idea yesterday by Mario Draghi. And I got thinking so much about it, sort of like having a consumer union, for oil around the world. But is that not what is happening already when you look at it critically? Because yes, we say OPEC has all the powers and all of that. But at some point in time, other consumers have been able to fight back OPEC. We saw what America did recently by just releasing some oil into the market, and how OPEC had to stabilize and the likes. So the consumers pretty much tell OPEC what to do as regards production quotas in the end. So is that not what is happening? Because I got thinking about it overnight, and I really want to interrogate this idea a little bit further.
Yeah, I think you're right in a sense. Although OPEC, is dealing the reason that OPEC has production quotas is not because of people actually buying the oil. It's because of what they need to do within themselves. That's the difference. I think that's what Mario Draghi and Biden are actually have been discussing. In other words, if it's the users of the oil who say, "Okay, we think that price is too much, we'll use less," that has to be an adjustable thing if there is any kind of market. If there's no market, then of course it won't work. I do think there is a market. I mean, it'll take some doing, but it's about demand. It's about managing demand. And if that actually were to fall, I think OPEC would probably have to move. It's not doing it at the moment. It can't do anything at the moment because we don't know what's happening with Russian oil and gas, for example. We don't know whether that's still on the table. We don't know if people are buying it at discounted prices like India and China. There's no stability at all. But I think for the future, what these two are sort of talking about is some kind of idea. Now, quite clearly, you're right, absolutely right. The detail of it would need to be hammered out. But I think it could be a step forward. It might be that OPEC say that's enough, we're not interested, and maybe that's where the future of OPEC goes. I don't know, but at the moment, it's a proposal, and it's on the table. As far as the United Kingdom is concerned, I don't think it's calling inflation something else. I was merely listening to somebody who used to work on the MPC, and she was saying that she didn't really think a recession was necessarily on the cards. Now, a recession is defined as 2 quarters of negative growth and so on, as you know, and it might be that it might be that it flatlines. I don't think there's. I mean, my argument about it all is, and I was saying this on a radio station yesterday in the UK. I don't care about what the annual figures are, the GDP figures, and the rest of it, which tend to be big ones. If you are suffering and if you are spending less because consumer confidence is falling and you're worried about rising prices, that is doing the damage. It doesn't matter what the official statistics say. And you're right, we are facing a very, very tough time at the moment, and it's going to get tougher.
Well, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, we're told has given directives to his cabinet ministers to ask about 91,000 jobs from the civil service. And the objective is that this will save, substantial amount of money, about £3.5 billion, and that will be used to address the cost of living crisis in the UK. What are the likely consequences? And what do you think of this as a means of addressing the cost of living crisis, which has been a major issue in the United Kingdom? The second issue has to do with the Institute of International Finance, the IIF, and also the economists reporting that sanctions against Russia will seem to have reached the limits of their effectiveness, because it looks like while imports may have reduced by Russia because of SWIFT, the payment system, all the measures taken. In terms of export, Russia seems to be doing very well. And both the economists and the IIF, they are predicting a big trade surplus. So what is the effect of the sanctions? And even if there's going to be any change, more restrictions will have to be applied. So is Russia really under any pressure if it is, doing very well in terms of its trade surplus? And other countries like Germany and China, are saying, well, they can't export more to Russia.
These two institutions could be absolutely right. I don't know, to be honest. I'd prefer to wait to see some proper figures and to see where we are in a couple of months' time, because this is going to, all the indications are, drag out considerably at the moment. We have no idea about the power of any opposition that there isn't to Russia in this. As I understand it, as a nation, they're quite used to going it alone and blaming the rest of the world for being against them and so on. I mean, it's part of the Russian psyche. I think it's far too early to be drawing conclusions like this. I mean, in a sense, they're right, because obviously people are wanting to buy gas and they're wanting to buy oil, but the sanctions really haven't begun to bite yet. And I mean, they could be right. Maybe they are. I'd prefer to wait just to the end of this year, really, if it probably takes that long, to see how much a lack of demand that is growing through sanctions actually is taking place as far as the Russian economy is concerned. What was your first question was? About
the civil service?
The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, asking ministers to ask 19,000 staff. Yeah.
Now you're talking. So the head of the Civil Service Union was talking earlier this morning, and he said he hadn't heard anything yet about this. The civil servants are a very easy target, and also it's very easy to say that savings from their salaries, for example, will be used to target the cost of living. Anybody with any experience of the way that, well, particularly, I don't know what it's like in your country, but here in the UK, there is no predication of money to one pot or another. Even national insurance simply gets soaked up. It's just another kind of tax. I think this sounds very, very good indeed. I think it would take a long time to push through. And remember, most of these civil servants are on final salary pensions. That takes quite getting your head around that sort of amount of money actually sort of goes against this, just a saving of 91,000 salaries. It will not be as simple as that, and so far very little progress has been made. Nice idea, everybody would like that. I mean, as Someone was saying the other day, Jacob Rees-Mogg was going around leaving notes on people's desks saying, it'd be nice to see you back in the office. I agree with that. I think that's fairly polite. It isn't really polite, but you know what I mean. And it's quite good that people are actually looking at the civil service. It's grossly overmanned, and it works very, very slowly indeed, as all public-funded organisations do.
Well, all that reminded me of is that we have here in Nigeria an Orosoye report about streamlining our civil service and our ministries, departments, and agencies that's gathering dust somewhere. And we cannot justify the headcount that we have. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Now, our dependable Rosa Saduri is here to give us an African business update. Good morning, Rotis.
Good morning, Tunu. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning,
yeah.
Good morning to all our viewers. Yeah, we begin with the Africa Finance Corporation. There was an awesome infrastructure forum that took place yesterday in Abuja. One-day forum, talked about infrastructure, talked about climate change, energy transition. Vice President Jumia Rumors was in attendance. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo was also in attendance as well. And they discussed a whole number of issues, including how to raise the cost of capital. Cost of capital was one of the main topics that was discussed across the forums. Here is Atana's, so by the way, they announced a 2 billion Africa fund. The fund is a resilience fund which is supposed to assist a number of regions on the continent that have been impacted by the COVID pandemic and the war in Ukraine. Essentially, this is going to be deployed through regional banks, commercial banks, and so on and so forth. I think they're going to raise about half of that money, and the rest of it, they'll provide about half of the funds. The rest of it will be raised. There was also a very interesting panel with former President Olusegun Obasanjo, current Anambra State's Governor Charles Soludo, Andrew Ali, who is the partner at Southbridge Capital, about how, Benedict Orama, Afrexim Bank head, was also there as well, how basically the Obasanjo administration started the AFC. But I want you to listen to this particular soundbite on the cost of capital in Africa from the founder and CEO of GenCorp, which is an emerging market asset management firm.
In order to scale the capital, the investments on the continent, first of all, we all need to strive to bring the cost of the capital down. And the only way, actually, to bring that cost of capital down is by creating more awareness, more partnership, and it's about collaboration, right? Because if the international perception of the risk in the continent is disproportionate to what the actual reality is, the continent, the local borrowers are getting penalized, right? And I will give you a very simple example. It all starts from the sovereigns, from the states. If you look at the average cost of borrowing of the Pan-African sovereigns today, is probably around 12–13% per annum. So, and if you compare that cost to the average cost of borrowing of the developed markets, it's a huge discrepancy, and that discrepancy does not match the actual risk. So if your sovereigns are borrowing at 12–13%, then what does it imply for your private sector? That needs to be a spread above that. Then what does it imply for your private equity capital and infrastructure capital? A spread even above that. So which corporate, which sustainable business model can sustain 20% or more cost of capital? None of it, none, right? So unless we fix this issue, you are not going to be able to scale the investments into the continent.
Very on the nose from Mr. Botanijev there about all this talk of infrastructure and raising money. Cost of capital is a big hurdle when you compare to the costs on the continent to developed nations. We move to Jumia and Xenox Technologies. There's a rumor floating around. I mean, Nairametrics, which is a financial advocacy company here in Nigeria, said they spoke with a source that says Mr. Eke, who of course is the CEO, founder of Xenox Technologies, is apparently mulling a buyout of Jumia. The shares fell about 11.3% yesterday. Jumia has been struggling. I mean, they listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2019. It was $14 a share. February 2021, it reached a high of $65 a share. It closed at $4.78 a share yesterday. It's down about 60% so far this year. Jumia has spent about $200 million in one single calendar year between, I think, December of 2020 to December of 2021 or so. Right now, they've got about, I think, on hand, less than $100 million in cash. If you're going to spend $200 million in a full calendar year, you only have about 6 months left to live if you've got $100 million on hand. And it seems to be a reflection of the challenges of e-commerce on the African continent. Have you noticed that nobody has said anything about e-commerce in all these issues with COVID and all these issues with the war in Ukraine? Who else would be impacted more by supply chain disruptions than e-commerce companies? And they've got a pan-African strategy. They are in different African countries that are less profitable than the largest economies on the African continent, from your Nigerias to your South Africas to your Egypts and so on and so forth. So he's pouncing. Again, it's a rumor. It's a rumor, but you know, he did Uala. He bought out Conga, which is a competitor to Jumia. So, you know, when you're low on cash, when you're bleeding cash, you are susceptible to either a friendly or a hostile takeover. Still on tech, finally, Interswitch. There's some tweets from Interswitch. Take a look at these tweets. Interswitch made an announcement yesterday. It's a new day, start of an exciting chapter as Leapfrog Investments and Tana Africa Capital join forces with Interswitch Group as we forge ahead to actualize our vision of a prosperous Africa driven by a seamless exchange of value and commerce. Whilst driving, here's the second tweet up here, whilst driving transformational social and economic impact every step of the way. Read more about what this milestone is. Basically, it's a reported $110 million is what they've raised from Leapfrog and Tana. They did not disclose how much was raised, but it's understood that Leapfrog and Tana have bought out some shareholders in Interswitch, and I understand they're going to get a seat on the board. What this means, I mean, when Visa put in $200 million in Interswitch 2016, 2017, the company we got unicorn status and was about $1 billion or so. This we don't have data on exactly how much of what the buyout amounted to. And I mean, when you consider Naira devaluation and so on since that time, it's questionable whether they still have unicorn status. But then again, we need more info on this. But Interswitch said they were going to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and London Stock Exchange back in 2016. Things, they've kind of, they're still mulling that idea. But one of the biggest companies, tech companies on the continent, very, very vital when it comes to payments infrastructure here. So it's big news for them, and yet another inflow of cash in tech space.
Yet another inflow of cash in tech space. But like you said, because of the devaluation of the Naira, our companies come up for almost for cheap. And that's why you see the stock market is doing well. Because with little dollars, you can get a lot in the stock market. A good one for Interswitch, I think the valuation should be going to about maybe roughly 1.5 thereabout billion now with this. If that
110 is it, 10%
10% stake in it. And Interswitch, and Mitchell Elegbe has built a good company that is attractive to everybody. So, I mean, kudos to him. And they were pretty much one of the first, around. And the likes of, what's the other one? Remita.
Yeah.
They've built a solid company and it's been able to take it public. Concerning Jumia, I think Jumia might be taken.
Yeah.
I think they're hush-hush about it. I spoke to a couple of people.
Give us the scoop, Rufai. Give us the scoop right now.
I spoke to a couple of people.
So confirm it, break it, put breaking news.
The response was, no comment. So when they say, no comment, I think it's going to be taken. But give it to Conga and Leo Sadeke. They've been able to cut the costs in e-commerce, because I tell people the greatest way to lose money is through e-commerce. I once ran an e-commerce company and I suffered dearly for it. I was burnt, running an e-commerce company. So they've been able to cut costs. When they took over Conga was hemorrhaging about 400 million a month. They've been able to cut the costs down.
But what's Konga's footprint? The footprint is limited to...
It's limited to Nigeria,
yeah,
but
so...
they have an African scale, and I think probably that's where Jumia comes into the big
So they'll
picture.
scale it down?
Yeah, no, so what they'll do is they'll cut costs.
By scaling down?
No, but they will still run all over Africa. They will just run lean. So that's just what they've been able to do.
Okay, well, let's see.
And see, most of these operational costs can be avoided, really.
How?
Some of them can be avoided. It depends on how you scale down your processes and you run leaner. So it doesn't necessarily mean taking inventory of the ground.
Every time we talk tech, we now start, well, let's get in doctor. But the logistics costs, the cost of doing business in your Malis, your Namibias, that's the issue.
So the major cost
is logistics.
The major cost in e-commerce, from someone that ran an e-commerce company, as director of an e-commerce company, is fulfillment.
That is to last mile to the consumer.
That's the major cost.
Well,
we need a tech show. Yeah, okay. Yes.
This statement put out there by the Xenos Group is that nothing is impossible.
Nothing is impossible.
So they are very cautious, which may be an indication that perhaps they are making certain moves. And we've seen Xenos Technologies moving from computers to telecom to e-commerce. And Konga, although their major operation is in Nigeria, they are the third largest e-commerce operation in Africa. Okay, so if they take over Jumia, whose stock shares have gone down by about 60% and they have financial difficulties, I guess, it will be a matter of scaling down. It will be a matter of reinventing the business and trying to take charge of that e-commerce space, on a larger scale in Africa. Now, that's that about that. But I wanted to draw your attention to the update from Ghana. Ken Ofori-Atta, the Minister of Finance in Ghana, had a press conference yesterday. And his major submission was a point raised here yesterday that perhaps, Ghana may have to start looking towards the IMF. And at that press conference, he said no. That the measures that have been adopted, by the Ghanaian authorities are working or will work. All those measures about e-levy, about cutting down on spending and all of that, even if, Ghana's debt is about 71% of GDP and they've had to raise interest rate. But he says, no, they cannot raise interest rate again. But that they are convinced that it will work. But, in terms of response, I don't know whether Ken Ofori-Atta watches this program. He says, no, forget about IMF. We're not going to IMF, and we have the confidence of IMF that we will survive.
We'll see.
Would they? Or was he just making a confidence building
That's all he was doing.
kind of statement?
As he looked at their bond yields.
If you look at all the issues, these statistics are government statistics.
Right.
Yesterday we were quoting the Office of Statistics
versus
in Ghana.
What's on the ground.
And also what their MPC, the MPC of the Ghana Central Bank decided in January. But we'll see. What is the job of politicians? Is to give people hope.
Hope, and project confidence.
Where we find ourselves at the moment, it's not just about hope, giving people hope. We have seen it in Sri Lanka. We have also seen it even in the United States.
When you raised that Sri Lanka example, oh my gosh, they did give hope. Let's call that the euphemism for tell blatant lies to the people. It's all under control, it's all under control, until it wasn't.
Everything ran down.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, Rotos.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
much. Today is Friday, right?
Yes, it is. I forget.